Welcome to the DFL Breakdown, presented by GrizLeeGear, with your hosts, Lucas Ford and Ricky Epperson.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to the DFL Breakdown, the #1 cartoon side character themed, league-specific, weekly fantasy football podcast in the world. That's right. Where's my boy Doug?
That's right.
I'm back. It's Lucas Ford here with you on the 3rd of October, 2024. No Ricky with me tonight, but still going to get a hot episode out for you this week. We had some crazy football as usual in this past week, and even though I haven't been really having as much fun in these past couple weeks, there's definitely some people prancing on top of the leaderboards and feeling pretty good about their teams. So why don't we go ahead and talk about it? It's been another week of football. We had some letdowns and some big matchups, but we had one person come away with not one, but two game breakers. So let's get into our game breaker segment and we can talk about it.
I'm coming! Here I come! Gamebreaker.
Okay, yeah, I led you into it here. We had someone come away with two game breakers this week. Jordan Love on his first week back, and Nico Collins on his continued rampage this year in fantasy football, both putting up over 30 for Nate here, and a part of his massive win this week, getting 2-0 and moving up in the leaderboards. Some pretty big performances as well out of both Derrick Henry and Younghoe Koo in their victories, both Corey and Ricky's victories this week. But yeah, Nate coming away with two of the highest position scores of the week. And yeah, they were definitely a huge part of his win here. So good job, Nate, putting Jordan Love in the first week he came back. You were ready for it and excited to get all those points from him, and get them you did. So let's talk about your matchup here as well as the rest of them in our score summary, and we can talk about that matchup here. Let's do it.
Score summary.
All right, let's see here. We had the I'm Ron Burgundy versus the AZ 69ers. We talked about it in the projection preview last week, but this sort of championship caliber matchup comes around, obviously at least once a year, if not more so, and a rivalry has been building between these two for a long time. But Nate adding a 2-0 victory for himself here, and with the median at 133 this week, Alex just missed that as well. So 0-2 for him on the week and 2-0 for Nate, with the scores coming in at 165 for Nate and 129 for Alex. Like we said, Jordan Love was huge for him, and Nico Collins, 12 receptions out of 15 targets for 151 yards and a touchdown in their, albeit close, victory over Jacksonville. Watching that game, you really expected the Texans to do better than they did. They did well enough and won, and even Nico Collins produced for fantasy, so not the end of the world. But Jacksonville's been pretty bad this year, so you want this team that's supposed to be playoff caliber to really kind of put them in their place, and they hung around in that game way too long. The Texans had to kind of come from behind, I believe, towards the end of that game. So, but still, Nico Collins getting a ton of points for him there. He also got a great performance out of Kyren Williams. Man, he has really been showing out this year too. Another touchdown for him, 104 all-purpose yards with 4 receptions on top of that. So very productive there, and even outscored Jamar Chase, though not by much. 18.5 points for him there. Found the pay dirt. Only 3 receptions, but 85 yards. Just massive chunk plays for Jamar Chase. That he's really good at that, and he's really been turning on the Jets these past couple weeks. They managed to beat the resurgent Panthers in that game, and he was no small part of that. So great performances just all around from Nate's guys. TJ Watt was uncharacteristically quiet this week, but everyone else did at or better their expectations, giving Nate that whopping 165. So, like I said, great showing from Nate's guys there. But Alex, not as much. 129 is a winning week and a winning score in a lot of weeks here, but wasn't enough for him here either way, getting the 0-2 on it. Jaden Daniels tried his hardest, got the 26 points, did outscore Dak Prescott this week for those keeping track at home. So continuing to make good choices there in the quarterback column, but like we said, wasn't really enough. Bijan Robinson has picked up a new nickname, Kinda Sucks, apparently, from Alex. He's just not happy with his number or his round 1 pick here. Hasn't really been producing the way he wants him to. J.K. Dobbins was comparable this week and really has been comparable in the season. But again, it wasn't really enough here, only getting 9.2 points. You want to, at least try to hit that 10-point mark. We keep harping on it, and we're going to continue to say it on the DFL breakdown here. You want 10 points out of your ancillary guys here, your RB2s, your flex plays, that kind of stuff. 10 points is a baseline, and he's right under that here, so no good there. He did get great performances out of Olave, Goddard, Sutton, and even his kicker put up 19, but the Dolphins defense did terrible against the Titans. The Titans are free turnovers. Will Levis just loves to throw the ball to the other team, but they I think they did their job too good and injured him early, and Mason Rudolph came in and didn't make any of those Will Levis bonehead plays. So Miami not the benefactor of any of that, only getting 4 points on the day and getting shellacked by Tennessee. Also, Danielle Hunter didn't really do, I think that's Danielle Hunter, didn't really do a whole lot for him there. Only got 2 points, 2 tackles and a quarterback hit. So, like I said, 130 points, pretty good on a lot of weeks. Nothing to be ashamed of. Just kind of the way everything shook out this week that ended up delivering Alex the 0-2. So, sucks to see, but he'll be moving down a little bit in the leaderboards. Let's move on from that matchup and go to the Land Manatees versus the Hot Garbage. These guys had very different weeks. Riley almost doubled Dylan's output. It was 137 to 73 points, just about 74. And with, like I said, the median at 133, Riley was the 6th team, I believe, to barely make it over. And he won both his matchups and got a 2-0. Continues on to being 7-1 after an impressive performance here. And Dylan moves down to 2-6. It wasn't necessarily Brock Purdy, his quarterback, carrying him to victory. They were okay against the Patriots, who have been very bad. They scored 30 points, so nothing to be too sad about if you're the Niners, but only 14.6 out of Brock Purdy. Jordan Mason, on the other hand, got a lot done on the ground for them. 24 points there, a touchdown, 160 all-purpose yards with 2 receptions. Can't ask for more. Man, for someone who drafted CMC, at least he's just fallen right into having Jordan Mason doing basically the same thing for him. Got to be great there. He's got Brian Robinson now after the trade we made last week. That was very good for him here. 20 points there, 113 all-purpose yards with a touchdown. And he was great in their smash victory over the Cardinals. in that same game where I was talking about Jaden Daniels doing pretty well for Alex. They scored 42 points, and yet everyone was involved. That offense has been white hot, and we'll see what it takes to slow them down if anyone has it. But for now, they'll keep trying to do what they've been doing, and I'm sure these people will remain in people's starting lineups. Debo Samuel only putting up 10. It was his first week back. He was somewhat involved. Like I said, they got a lot done on the ground there. Riley having all of these Niners, he gets the good and bad. So he's just making sure he captures all of those Niners points there. But DK was good. He became the first receiver in Seahawks history to log over 100 receiving yards in 3 consecutive games. Just barely got there on this one, but with 7 receptions and 104 yards, a pretty great day from him. Did lose a fumble, so lose a couple points there, but still got 15.4, so pretty happy with that if you're Riley. Cole Kmet getting picked up and plugged in this week, served as a passable tight end for now, and I think something might be going on with him in the future. I don't know if he'll stay as the starting tight end for the Land Manatees, but for this week he was in there and he got 6 points. Tight end landscape is a crapshoot, so Kincaid got 9, and that's a premium guy, so the gap isn't that wide. Alvin Kamara, though, continuing to be dominant. 77 yards on the ground, 42 in the air with 7 receptions. 7 receptions for 42 yards are wide receiver numbers that you're happy about. But he also had 77 yards on the ground and a touchdown on top. So, yeah, getting 25 points out of him. I'm sure you're pleased to see that every week if you're Riley. And Brandon Aubrey continuing to dominate as well. 16 points out of him. Getting 10 plus out of your kicker is always a nice little cherry on top. His defense down at the bottom here, both the Dallas defense and his individual defensive player scored 6 points combined, so he might be looking into some changes there if he makes any sort of waiver moves or free agency moves this week. Okay, let's look at Dylan's team here. Kyler Murray only putting up 12 points. Even though Marvin Harrison was productive, it was really only on 5 receptions, 45 yards and a touchdown. You're hoping for more if you're Dylan, and I believe he moved on from these guys here in a trade this week. So that's, I guess, a little bit of a spoiler alert. We'll talk about it, I guess. But for now, he did have them, and they were a little bit disappointing, but put up 26, 27 points combined there. Cam Akers, not nearly as productive as you'd hope in a game where Joe Mixon still missed and Dameon Pierce still missed. Wasn't nearly as much of a smash play as he was last week in this one. And Carson Steele, man, with the reintroduction of Kareem Hunt, just completely fell off. Fumbled in the first quarter, and Andy Reid just benched him for just about the rest of the game. I think he got like 1 target late in the fourth quarter, as part of a drive, but he didn't catch it, so He might have just in one game played himself out of Andy Reid's good graces, and it might be Kareem Hunt time. And, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is also expected to be coming back off of the physically unable to perform list this week, and he might play before the bye. But even when they have their week 6 bye, they come back from that, it's who knows what's going to be happening in that backfield. I'm sure Dylan's praying for some more Carson Steele, but might not be the case. Allen Lazard getting the start here. I always find it funny when he's got Garrett Wilson and Allen Lazard on the same team, and Allen Lazard seems to be the play. He's not wrong, too. He scored more than them this week, 5 out of 8 for 58 yards. 10 points there out of an ancillary guy like we were talking about, just about what you're looking for. Dalton Kincaid put up 9.7. We talked about that briefly. It's kind of whatever. Brandon Ayuk still doing nothing for the hot garbage team there that he was so proclaimed this past week. And he's named all of his players after different types of garbage as well. And Ayuk has just landed with the classic trash. That's what he's been for this team so far. Arizona -5 points for him as well, in that shellacking from the Commanders. So, at least Quinn Williams or Quincy Williams, I think they have two Q Williams, and I always get confused which is which. It's Quincy. Quincy Williams was good for him, but it wasn't enough. And 74 points. That's an L. And he's going to take both those L's down to 2-6. So let's move on from that matchup and talk about Ricky versus the Stroud boys. He's gone through a couple rebrands since this picture has been placed, but before he was the Sorcerers, and they won 190 points to 93 points, got more than double what Eric did, had massive performances out of everyone. Lamar Jackson, 27.5, Derrick Henry, 35 points, Aaron Jones got 19 points, Malik Neighbors, 23, Amon-Ra St. Brown, 23. The bottom of his lineup here a little bit less, but then the defensive side, San Francisco, 27 points versus New England, 6 sacks, 4 forced fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries, and an interception. And then, even his linebacker, his individual guy, getting 12.5 tackles. He just produced everywhere, and he could have gotten more points had he started Baker Mayfield like he'd talked about wanting to do. He ended up self-described chickening out at the end, and he put in Lamar Jackson, but it definitely wasn't a bad play. Guy got almost 28 points, so an all-around beatdown from the then Sorcerers, then the Agency, now the Decepticons, against the Stroud boys. And see, it wasn't CJ Stroud's fault. He put up 27.5 points, but major disappointment out of Breece Hall in that rainy game versus the tough Denver defense. They were really looking to be a scary matchup again. So I would be afraid. I know there was years past where sometimes you'd want to start your running backs versus the Broncos, but Patrick Surtain's got the pass options covered, and the run defense seems to be immaculate too. So, tough sledding going against the Broncos for your fantasy assets in the future. But just an example of it here at a Breece Hall with a 3.8. James Cook, also bad. I don't know if I mentioned how bad the Bills were in that game against the Ravens. The Ravens, put up all those points. Derrick Henry breaking off that massive touchdown right from the beginning. And the Bills really weren't cooking with anything to match it here. They didn't pick up the phone when called. They didn't answer. They got beat down 10-35, and still we don't get to see the Bills play a full game. They pulled the starters before the end of this one because it was cooked, and they were down 3 scores or 4 scores or something. I want to see Josh Allen on the field all the way through the fourth quarter at one point this season, please. We're about a quarter of the way through it or so, maybe 20%. So come on, NFL, make the Bills play a full game one way or the other. This is not what I requested last week when I asked them for someone to press them. Maybe not that hard. Mike Evans putting up 23.4 points. Again, dude, he is just going nuts this season so far. What is he scoring? 23. Okay, 7, 4, and then 23 this week. So I didn't remember the soft spots as much as I remember the spikes. So, I'm sure Eric was happy about that. But other than that, not much else to be happy about. 9.9 was more than Jacoby Myers was projected. But again, around 10 is what you expect, and he didn't quite get there. So you're not jumping for joy. 3 points out of Hunter Henry, only 7.5 out of Amari Cooper after he was so electric last week. And 2 points out of the Steelers defense. Just a poor performance. Nothing really he could do about it. He could have started Jameson Williams if he if he wanted to over Amari Cooper, but yeah, he was never going to get there. Lost by 100 points and missed the median by about 40. So unlucky break for him there. Ricky staying undefeated so far in the season, and Tyke moving to 4-4 in that 500 score line there. So we'll see if that ends up continuing to be the case for him there, if he breaks one way or the other. Let's go to Artie's matchup versus Herbert. The perverts, that is Mike here, the Bill Cosby sleepers, took the victory, 166.98, almost 167 points versus 154 points for Mike. A heartbreaker. You know, he did what he was supposed to do here. Beat the median, which is something you can take home in a situation like this. But yeah, he taken an L anyway. Artie went absolutely nuclear. Not quite the 190 that Ricky put up, but somewhat close. Justin Fields has been a great start for him in the past couple weeks. And really a great start for the Steelers. Even though they lost this game by 3 points, they're 3-1, and he's feeding the guys. He's getting stuff done with his legs. He looks decent, and they're winning games. So Justin Fields might be the quarterback of the future, both for the Steelers and the sleepers. But 33 points for him here. And 22 points out of Chuba Hubbard. A down beginning of the year when people were hoping he would really just hold a huge chunk of the offense with Jonathan Brooks on the PUP, or the IR, I guess. And he had a slow start. But yeah, this game definitely doesn't fall under that category. 104 yards on the ground with a touchdown, 4 receptions for 17 more. 22 points out of Chuba Hubbard. Everything you want and more. Even outscored Jonathan Taylor. Not by much, but that's still a surprising prospect to think about here. Jonathan Taylor putting up 19.8 with 102 all-purpose yards, 3 receptions, and a touchdown. But yeah, still outscored by Chuba Hubbard. Sure, neither of them are upset about it, though. This was a collaborative effort for the sleepers, and they really put it together. Christian Kirk also doing great for him. This was a game that I think Christian Kirk needed and Artie needed out of him to continue to have faith to start him here. 7 receptions for 61 yards and a touchdown. That's the type of stuff you really want to see out of Christian Kirk. And he got it here. So great job out of that. And then, yeah, also Stephon Diggs putting up 18.5 in that same game. I'm sure he was just happy watching that game the entire time. Anytime anyone was doing anything, it was kind of going to these two guys, if it wasn't going to Nico Collins. But, yeah, he ended up getting almost 40 points out of that game. So Travis Kelce finally putting up a performance. 7 receptions for 89 yards. This is exactly what you want. And lo and behold, Rashee Rice gets injured in the first quarter, and Travis Kelce is back, baby. I think this pretty much confirms the theory that Rashee Rice was the thing that was making Travis Kelce go the way of the dodo. And if he misses significant time, Travis Kelce could definitely be on the rise. Someone that's not on the rise is Mark Andrews, putting up 0 points. Again, 2 weeks in a row, with only 1 target. This is what they call bad in the biz, and I don't know if he's still worth starting as a flex play. I don't know if he's still worth rostering. I don't know. I don't know if he's worth anything. It's just been a total nightmare scenario having him. At least Travis Kelce wasn't a letdown this week, but Artie somehow fell on the sword for 2 of these premium tight ends for the rest of us here. So we thank you for that, Artie. It still ended up working out for you this week, but I wouldn't want to be in your shoes with having to deal with both of those guys. Jake Moody giving you 13. The Las Vegas defense giving you 10 against Cleveland. That was a great performance out of them. They got a pretty lucky interception that came bouncing off of Amari Cooper's hands into the air, though. A little bit of luck, but hey, points are points, and they count all the same. So good on him for fielding the Vegas defense. And then Nick Bosa was part of that massive 49ers effort against the Patriots where they got those 6 sacks. He got, one of those sacks himself, a forced fumble with a recovery, 5 tackles. Did great for himself there. Not as good as Fred Warner on the other side, who got an interception for himself, as well as 7 tackles and a pass defense. Huge for him there. And again, this was a week for Mike to be proud of, really. He got 26 points out of Sam Darnold, who's been great for him. Tony Pollard put up 18. He scored with 5 seconds left in that game, even though they were up by so much. I don't know why they did that, but they did that. They wanted to just blow the Vegas line, I guess. And they did that successfully. But yeah, Tony Pollard getting a free TD gifted to him at the end of the game there. Justin Jefferson getting 20 points, making one of the craziest catches I've seen. I mean, Sam Darnold put it right on the money there. And the Viking stack just really doing heavy lifting for Herbert the Perverts here. Kenneth Walker, Monday night, one of the craziest broken tackles I've ever seen, where he was flipping around like a wild monkey, just flipping around nonstop while this one guy was holding him until he finally broke free. And I can't even describe it. I sound like a crazy person to anyone who didn't see the play, but I'm telling you, he was he looked like a slinky being slapped back and forth with his legs just coming on all different sides of this guy laying down on the ground. And he finally escaped without being downed and continued to get yardage. But yeah, 3 touchdowns with, 116 all-purpose yards, 4 receptions. Just a crazy production out of him, and it was it was actually almost enough to kind of get him back in the conversation on this one. Definitely got him over the median, but geez, everyone thought that Artie had this locked up at the end of Sunday, even going into Monday night, and then he just kept going, 34.6 points. Definitely spooky stuff if you're Artie. But he took the win, took both those wins, moves to 3-5 from 1-5, and is really on the rise here, moving up in the world from the pitiful start that he had. Mike, on the other hand, is going down. He got a 1-1 performance this week, so moves to 2-6. Does double his win total, so maybe not all bad for him there, but I'm sure he was hoping for more with 155 points. Okay, let's talk about my matchup here. I did absolutely terribly, and a lot of it has to do with Anthony Richardson getting hurt early in that game. I had 2 other options for quarterbacks, and pretty much either of them would have won me this game, so that feels pretty rough. But we can woulda, coulda, shoulda all day. It doesn't help me now. I lost by a little less than 9 points here. It was 81 and some change for me versus 90 points for Lehman. We both lost to the median. We both had terrible quarterback performances, middling running back performances, but CD Lamb putting up 23.6 was big for him, though I did have an answer for that, and Brian Thomas, who's been surprisingly consistent and putting up 21.9 this week. Most leagues, Rashee Rice got 0 points, but because he made that tackle and forced a fumble, in our league, those are worth points because we have an IDP. So Rashee Rice got 3 points there. Gesicki, 0.1 point. He got a reception for -9 yards. I personally didn't even see the play, so I don't know how that happens. That's impressive. That's almost worse than a 0-point performance. We saw that Kyle Pitts had a 0-point performance. We saw that Mark Andrews had a 0-point performance. Gesicki's been somewhat part of the game plan, and they throw him the ball sometimes, and this was a massive loss, I guess. So not great for him there. JSN, though, Monday night was a big part of his win, too. 13.1 points, 8 receptions for 51 yards. That's pretty good stuff there. But, yeah, I mean, you see a lot of red scrolling through this one. Neither of us really had great weeks. Nothing went the way I expected it to, that's for sure. The Dolphins did poorly, real poorly. Tyreek Hill was very close to having a few break-off touchdowns, but pretty poor ball placement out of Snoop Huntley. I expected better, and I was very disappointed. So that was a bitter pill to swallow this week. Both Achane and Hill being affected by that, but Tua at this point saying he's symptom free, and wants to come back, and he's working with his teammates in the facilities, not in any sort of contact fashion or anything, but he's in the quarterback room studying up, looking at the film, helping the team prepare, and he's telling everyone that he feels great and wants to keep playing and feels like himself and everything's fine. So I'm not saying that that's a medical diagnosis or that just because he says it that he knows exactly what's going on and everything's good, but I would say that points to him returning when his IR stint is at its 4-week minimum. I think he's probably going to come back in the next couple weeks, and I hope that really works out for me. And in the meantime, Snoop Huntley's been on the team for 2 weeks. Obviously, it wasn't great, and I'm not going to make too many excuses for that. I do want to say the Tennessee Titans defense looks legit in the same way I was talking about the Broncos defense looking legit. Teams play Tennessee and tend to score less, so that's something else that we can keep an eye on moving forward here. But a lot of it can definitely be attributed to the poor offense, and I know Tyreek Hill showed a lot of frustration, just yelling about all sorts of stuff on the sideline. Man, was he wide open on a lot of those plays, so I can understand that frustration. I was frustrated watching it with him, or watching him do it, rather. Keon Coleman was all right, had a couple of big plays. Bills were bad, though, so he was bad, and it was bad. This was bad, and I'm disappointed. All right. Oh, one thing I gotta mention, of course, about this matchup is that it was our
Wet Noodle Fight of the Week.
Hurts to mention it, but it was our Wet Noodle Fight of the Week. Again, 81.5 to 90. Just about anyone would have beat the both of us, besides Dylan. But let's get into our last matchup here. That is the Dogs versus the Women in the Kitchen. And speaking to special drops here, I gotta make a note for the tight end landscape suckfest pickup here. Parkinson,
Waiver Warrior.
He was our waiver warrior. He got picked up this week by Corey and plugged in, and there wasn't really a lot of people picked up for starting action this week. I went through and looked at winning teams, and everyone's just about the same, but Colby Parkinson cracking the lineup here for the Dogs, scoring 7.3 points, and a part of this win for the Dogs here against Chris. He won by more than 7, so I'm not saying it made the difference, but look, we like our waiver guys here. We like seeing people make those moves and plug them into their lineup. So good job, Corey. Dylan, if you're listening, last week you were the waiver warrior. We didn't mention it specifically on that episode, but on the episode before, I said anyone who is the waiver warrior and mentions it can get a $5 Dunkies gift card for me. So if you mention it after this one, just because I didn't explicitly spell it out again on the episode last time, I'll give you one more chance. If Dylan or Corey mentions that they were the waiver warrior last week or this week, to me, I'll get him a $5 Dunkies gift card. So there you go. He got that done. He also got almost 20 points out of Jahmyr Gibbs. Patrick Mahomes has been anything but good or reliable for him, getting only 15 there, but it was enough to get him the win this week. Najee Harris put up 10 and George Pickens put up 16, so his Steelers stack is finally starting to cook things up for him. Rashid Shaheed caught a few of those big passes that we were missing from him last week, and he also caught a few other passes. He got 8 passes on 11 targets. He also had a couple carries for 14 yards. He muffed a punt, which was pretty egregious, but what can you do except live and learn, right? So he lost a couple points there. Could have had a couple more, but didn't need him this week. Beat the median and beat Chris. So it was Younghoe Koo was a big part of that as well. Best kicker of the week that was started, 31.7 points. Drilled a couple massive kicks. They just kept wheeling him out. I think they won with a kick. I think they kicked at halftime from like 58 or something crazy. He had a couple real long kicks here, and that put Corey over the edge. He won by less than 31, so you get a normal kicking week like 4.7 at a Harrison Butker, one of the best to do it. Corey doesn't quite get there this week, but the kicker definitely did it for him. So the same can't be said for Micah Parsons or the Houston defense, or even really Najee Harris or Patrick Mahomes, but everyone else beating their projections and propelling Corey to that 2-0 win. Chris on the other side suffering. Just missed the median by about 7 points or so. So coming home with an 0-2 on a 127-point week. That's a win. A lot of other weeks, I mentioned it already here, but worth reiterating. Not really a bad week, but an 0-2 week nonetheless. Drake London didn't catch a touchdown this week. He'd been catching a touchdown every week so far. That pattern finally broke. Despite what Chris would have told you before the game, he said it was a sure thing. But yeah, he didn't quite catch that touchdown. Again, Joe Burrow putting up an okay performance. 20 is, I want at least 20. That's like a quarterback benchmark, right? It's like 20 out of your quarterback, like 15 out of your RB1 and wide receiver 1, and like 10 out of the rest of your guys. Very nice. You feel good about that. But not so much this week if you're Chris, I guess. Yeah, only 20 points there. Josh Jacobs with only 11.8. Zach Moss kind of picked up a little bit of the slack there, getting 17.8. And George Kittle even having that awesome touchdown grab at one of his 4 receptions there. Scary Terry was also good for him, putting up 18.2 in that barn burner versus the Cardinals. So, good performances out of his guys. Even the Cleveland defense put up 14 points with a couple sacks and a fumble recovery for a touchdown. Just not enough to get him there. So poor luck for the women in the kitchen, and they're hoping for a better tomorrow. But today, it's 0-2 for them, and they're down to 2-6. All right, yeah, we talked about all these matchups here. Like I said, there was a couple trades and this and that here, but we'll talk about them as we just go through next week's matchups. We'll talk about people's lineups, and we'll see how they've changed and everything here, just because it's a little hard to honestly get the waiver and trade graphic on here to show up correctly. So that's the main reason. And there are others, of course, but before we get to the projection preview, this is the point efficiency chart. It kind of shows the distribution of everyone's points and their maximum potential. Nate had the ability to go plus ultra this week, but missed it here. But very scary to know that he could have put up 200 this week. That would have been one of the all-time high scores in the Dimmadome. So spooky stuff there that his team is capable of that. But other than that, yeah, low performances out of me, out of Dylan, out of Lehman, And even out of Eric getting the sub 100 points, everyone else scoring pretty well in the week. But yeah, we kind of got the little sad corner of teams at the bottom of this week here, and I'm among them, so feels bad. That brings our standings to what I've got up now. We've got the Sorcerers on top at 8-0. The Land Manatees in second place at 7-1. We've got Imron Burgundy in third at 6-2. We've got the AZ 69ers in fourth at 4-4. We also have the Stroud Boys and the Dogs in the 5th and 6th places at 4-4 as well. Myself, the Ball Hogs here, Artie Sleepers, and Lehman's Toaster Baths are all at 3-5. That puts us at 7th, 8th, and 9th, respectively. Then we have the Women in the Kitchen in 10th at 2-6. Herbert the Pervert at 2-6 as well. And Dylan not shown in last place. I kind of like that we don't even show 12th place. You got to work harder to make it onto the standings thing. It came about just simply because my screenshot of my phone doesn't fit all 12 players, but I kind of like it this way. So work harder this week, Dylan. You'll see if you can't get onto the board here. But for now, let's move out of last week and into the future. Let's go to our projection preview and check everyone's matchups out here.
Projection preview.
All right, we are back, and we have some juicy matchups to break down here. Let's talk about, you know what? I'm going to risk it. I'm going to refresh the page here because I want to see everyone's updated lineups, titles, pictures, all that good stuff here, and this is why. Like I said earlier, Ricky has now become the Decepticons. He said he's ready for his villain arc, so this is the start of it here. He's also renamed all of his players after Decepticons, but yeah, he's got Lamar Jackson going again with Derrick Henry against the Bengals this week. He's got some problems trying to get a kicker on his roster. He's moved a few things around. He made a trade with Dylan to get himself the Cardinals stack of Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison here. He's not starting Kyler, but he's got Marvin in, and he also picked up Josh Downs this week off waivers to start him, as well as Trey Sermon. He's hoping for good things at a lot of these guys that were available previously, and that's because he's thinking Malik Neighbors might not make it into a game this week here after the concussion he suffered at the end of the last one. He's thinking Jalen Waddle was not great last week, might not be great this week in this offense that's struggling. It's tough to start him. Amon-Ra St. Brown is on bye, and Laporta is on bye, and the kicker that he used to have, I believe it was Jake Elliott, he's also on bye. So he's definitely having some roster problems still. He's projected to be pretty even with Mike, but Mike's having some roster problems of himself, for himself rather. He's got Tony Pollard still in here, who's on bye this week as well, and he doesn't have any options to rectify that. Well, he can. No, I apologize. He can put Kenneth Walker up there and still start ETN and then be good on that. But it would just be looking for another flex play. Perhaps Xavier Worthy or Roma Dunze would be the pick. We'll see what happens with that. But either way, probably another 10 points or so added onto the projections for him, and probably another 8 or so added onto the projections. 8 to maybe 12, depending on if he ends up putting Malik Neighbors in. God, it could be even like 20 points. So I would imagine that Ricky is favored in this one. He's 8-0. He's been putting up big points, but with all those guys out, it could be a little bit of a taller task for him here. So We'll see if Mike is able to topple the Titan this week and get it done with the guys that he has. But he's not the only one kind of in an uphill battle here. We've got the Toaster Bats versus the Land Manatees. One of the bottom teams versus another one of the top teams here. Lehman at 3-5 versus Riley at 7-1. Josh Allen looking for a get-right game after that poor performance against Buffalo. Houston's defense hasn't been remarkable. I mean, the Jags just put up 20, so they're definitely beatable. We'll see if Josh Allen has what it takes to actually beat them, though. Rachaad White has been somewhat consistent, but he's playing tonight, so we'll see if that game at Atlanta for the Buccaneers is as fruitful as this week's game was, or this past week's game was for them, or if the Atlanta defense stymies them at home. In either case, he's not the only running back starting for the Toaster Bath. Chase Brown going for him there, who had a big week last week, unfortunately on his bench. So we'll see if he can actually put the points up for him when he actually starts him here. CeeDee Lamb, an obvious smash start for him there. JSN has been breaking out this year and really showing himself to be getting a lot more volume. And it's looking more and more in part in thanks to Shane Waldron finally leaving and going to bother the Bears with his poor offensive schemes. So congratulations, Seahawks. You've escaped from that one. Tucker Kraft, just being better than Luke Musgrave and getting more targets, and now being picked up to be put in this week at tight end for the Baths. And I think it's because he had, I believe he had Cole Kmet last week or something like that. Yeah, and he's still waiting on Njoku to come back, but until then, he's just kind of streaming guys, and this is the next guy up. Justice Hill was big last week, but big on Lehman's bench again, as well as those other guys here, but he's getting the start this week, hoping that he is going to get more of that passing game work and volume, and he's honestly done great with the ball in his hand so far, so you'd be expecting more of that if you're the Ravens. But yeah, we're looking at, like I said, somewhat of an uphill battle. I know that Riley is favored in this one. He's got all his Niners going again here. Brock Purdy, Jordan Mason, and Deebo Samuel all playing the Cardinals, and that Cardinals defense, which looks super beatable, and the Commanders just put up a bunch of points against them, as I was saying before here. Speaking of the Commanders, he's still got Brian Robinson Jr. in, who has been a smash start so far, but I think he had some sort of injury news, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he's got a knee injury. It's, we're still working off the Wednesday reports. Haven't got the Thursday ones yet, so we'll see if that's just kind of like a rest day or if he's actually nursing a knee injury there. But yeah, he's got him going. So DK Metcalf also running for him here versus the Giants Sunday afternoon. He's got plenty of opportunity to perform there, but we're definitely going to be looking out for JSN versus DK Metcalf in that game to see which way the balance swings there. They're both projected right around the same. They're obviously on the same team. The pass can only go to one of them at a time, so these two will be very invested to see which one of them gets more of it there. But yeah, also looking at Zach Ertz. I believe he was just picked up. And he's going as well, so Riley's got a couple pieces of this Commanders offense going, and like I said, they've been white hot, so it might not be a mistake to chase it a little bit here. See if it keeps going or comes crashing down there. Alvin Kamara, an obvious start there. He's playing on Monday, so he's got him in his flex spot. Chef's kiss. Beautiful. Love that. And then also Brandon Aubrey, you're going to start him every time. Max Crosby, you're starting him every week until he gets injured or he's on bye. And the Denver defense, I mean, they look great. Vegas is beatable. Love the play. Awesome. Yeah, no Jalen Hurts this week. He's on bye, but Brock Purdy got the start last week. So why wouldn't Brock Purdy continue to get the start? Land Manatees favored by about 10. So that is good to know. Okay, we talked about. Gosh, I skipped around a little bit here. Let's make sure I don't miss any of these. Let's go to the Stroud boys versus the Sleepers. C.J. Stroud going against Buffalo. I talked about that being a possible get-right game opportunity for the Bills, but I'm sure the Texans want to prove that they are in playoff contention, and I'm sure Stephon Diggs is going to be fired up in that game against the Bills. So that'll be interesting to see. And Stephon Diggs is in this matchup too, so couldn't be any bit of juicier in-game gossip here. Not only do we get the C.J. Stroud and Stephon Diggs on opposing sides but on the same team, but they're playing against Buffalo, so it's going to have all sorts of storylines going in that one. James Cook also going in this same game here. So that this has all the implication for these guys at a games that they can watch. Besides, of course, I mean, more of the 49ers stuff down here for defense and special teams. Gosh, they even have Kaimi Fairbairn, the Houston Texans kicker, going. So, yeah, a lot of investment there. Amari Cooper and the Browns versus that White-Hot Commanders offense. So, if that ends up turning into a shootout, that could be good for him. But the Browns offense is looking to really string together some good performances, and if they're going to string any together, they need to start with one, because this last one wasn't as good here. So Amari Cooper, of course, would be a big part of that. Hunter Henry's still going, Jacoby Myers still going. Doesn't look like much has changed besides we've got Adebo. I don't remember this guy's first name here. Paulson Adebo going from the Saints, a cornerback now playing for the Stroud boys. So I think I remember seeing that he has been scoring a lot of points so far. Yeah, 26, 15, 21, 7.5. Pretty darn good. If you get something like that out of him, I'm sure he will be happy. Okay. Got these three done. Let's move on to the Dogs versus I'm Ron Burgundy. Corey's still got Jahmyr Gibbs showing on bye, but in his starting lineup. He's also got Micah Parsons in, who's doubtful to play this week. So I'm sure he'll take a look and make some changes before game time, but maybe we'll see one of his Panthers pass catchers come in, or perhaps even for Jahmyr Gibbs getting Jerome Ford going. These could be all good options for him, but for now we are just left to wait and wonder here. Once he puts one of those guys in, he'll be projected to get a little more, but certainly not projected to score the 133 like Nate is here. All his guys are here. They're strong. They're healthy. Jared Goff is on bye, but he's starting Jordan Love anyway. I don't blame him. No one else on bye for him there. So, yeah, he's just got his starters going, and he's very happy about it here. Yeah, 133 for projection. That's high. I don't see that being that high all that often here. Versus the Rams, Jordan Love, I don't think their defense is like elite right now as they have been in years past. No Aaron Donald. We'll see if Jordan Love is able to continue to produce at a high level there. The Cardinals versus the 49ers, that's, I'm sure, a rough matchup for James Conner. Maybe not the worst in the league anymore as they have been in years past, but still pretty rough to get after there. So we'll see if he ends up doing well there. Always looking for the big splash plays out of Jamar Chase. They're playing the Ravens, so a divisional matchup, a rivalry here. And Jamar Chase always likes to break a big touchdown off in those sort of games when everything's on the line. They're also playing at home. I love just watching the broadcast of Bengals games and seeing the crazy tiger stripes all over the place and the bright orange and all the fans in orange. I think it's just a cool atmosphere. It makes it stand out. So I like watching games that are in Cincinnati, and it looks like this is one of them. So that should be cool to see. Nico Collins, you're obviously starting him every week. He's been incredibly impressive, and he looks to continue to do so against Buffalo. Jake Ferguson, he's going as well. I don't think he still has any other options at tight end unless he hung on to his backup. He didn't. I wouldn't either. Jake Ferguson is a fine every week tight end start here. Jordan Addison came back strong from his injury and looks to continue that, but we've got a London game at 9:30 in the morning, and Jordan Addison will be a part of that one versus the Jets of all teams. The Vikings versus the Jets in London. We'll see if that ends up being good for Jordan Addison the way this last week was. But yeah, he looks to be legit. I think he got 2 touchdowns last week. So definitely someone you want to start if you're Nate. Okay, Corey, yeah, pay attention. Put some new guys in. Figure your lineup out, man. Come on. All right, let's talk about Alex versus Chris, the 69ers versus Women in the Kitchen, Jaden Daniels versus the Browns. The Browns defense, has been historically good, so this could be a road bump in this, boat race of a start for the Commanders here, just putting up as many points as they can, or, it might end up being just a small blip on the radar for these guys who are accelerating out of control and getting exit velocity here. Who knows? Jaden Daniels still a hot topic in the NFL, and people don't know if he's going to be generational, or if he's just been good for a couple games, or if he should have been the number 1 pick like CJ Stroud should have been the number 1 pick last year. The jury's still out, but people are starting to make up their minds on him here, and so far it's been positive. Bijan Robinson, part of that game tonight versus Tampa Bay at home. We'll see if they end up getting anything done. And Ramondre Stevenson also getting fired up for the 69ers. I've heard rumblings of Ramondre Stevenson possibly riding the pine, or maybe being somewhat of a backup to Antonio Gibson after he's fumbled 4 straight games. That's horrifying. I mean, Bill Belichick would have never let that happen. If you fumbled in 2 straight games, you would have been riding pine for a long time. So, a scary start for Alex, to say the least. But I don't know that he has a ton of options at running back to make up for it here. So this might just be what he has to do. I think he has Dobbins on his team, though. Dobbins is on bye. That's why he's not going. And I'm sure he doesn't want to start Algier and Bijan Robinson at the same time. So Ramondre Stevenson is the pick for him. See if it ends up paying off versus Miami. Olave is playing in the Monday night game versus the Kansas City Chiefs. I believe we're done with the doubleheaders for now, so we should just be able to watch that game by itself. And it means a lot. The Saints offense has been great to start the season, but kind of faltering the last couple weeks. See if they can hit their stride again versus the defending champs, or if they prove to be too much to power through here for that offense, with Chris Jones on the other side. But Olave is going to be a big part of that either way. We'll also see Chris Godwin tonight as part of that game that Bijan Robinson is in, that Bucks versus Falcons game. So, again, another opportunity to see their players score some points tonight. He's got Dallas Goedert still in his tight end slot. I think he has to either make a move or just swap someone in. Doesn't look like he has another tight end on roster, so maybe he'll wait closer to game time to figure out who he wants. But in any case, it's going to have to be someone other than Dallas. Michael Pittman getting the start here. I don't know that it's not out of necessity or anything. He did start Cortland Sutton last week, which worked out for him. But if Joe Flacco plays again for the Colts this week, Pittman could be a smash play. But Anthony Richardson is talking about playing again this week. I don't know that he's gonna miss any significant time, so we'll see how much that affects Michael Pittman. But for now, he's in the starting lineup for the 69ers. Chris going with Joe Burrow still. He's got faith in him there. I don't see why you wouldn't. He's still been doing fine ever since he kind of came back from that slow start, and he's been doing better. Josh Jacobs, obviously punching him in. We talked about that Rams matchup. Hopefully he can exploit that in the same way Jordan Love is trying to. Joe Mixon looking to make his return. We'll see if he actually does versus the Bills here this week, and if he scores just as much as he was scoring before he left. Drake London looking to get back to his scoring ways. Also another part of that game tonight. So these guys definitely have a lot of action and investment in that one. And then Khalil Shakir going in that Texans-Bills game for the women in the kitchen. He's still got his guys here. He traded for Terry McLaurin. Of course, he's going to start him. Harrison Butker in that Monday night game. Kicking. He's hoping he's kicking the entire time. And he did just pick up Witherspoon here. We'll see. He was pretty good to start the season, I believe, but he was missing some time or something. No, never mind. He's just kind of been average. But I think he's projected so many points every week, and I don't know why he's projected to get 11 points every week. But Chris wants to find out, so he is going to. We got Owusu Koromoa on the other side for Alex here. He was pretty good this last week. I believe he might have even got a pick or a fumble recovery or something. Alex is hoping for some more of that magic here. I don't remember exactly what it was. He had 9 tackles. I remember hearing his name in the broadcast for something. But yeah, he is a part of that, and he'll see if he can carry him over the hump here. I'm sure that projection difference will change, obviously, once he puts someone that's going to score points in his tight end slot. But I doubt he's just going to go randomly find someone who's projected to score 11. So I think he's coming in as the underdog on this one, even though he's 4-4. The defending champs just kind of get to retain their edge, even with a 2-6 record here. So we'll see if that ends up playing out that way, or if the projections are lying to us as usual. All right, we got one matchup left. It is me versus Dylan. The projections are pretty even at 110, and I think we have all of our guys in and lined up. We do. Yeah, I get the Red Rocket in. We talked about the Red Rifle, Andy Dalton, a few times. He's been looking great ever since he's taken over for the Panthers here. And I'm hoping to get some of that magic on my team. So here he is. I'm just going to let Anthony Richardson hang out in the IR slot, even if he comes back. I might just kind of leave him in there for now and see if Andy Dalton's got it for me. Achane, I'm hoping, does better against New England. We got a lot of investment in this Miami-New England game with Tyreek Hill, Antonio Gibson, and Devon Achane going in it. Saquon Barkley is on bye for me, so that's very sad. I don't like that. But Brian Thomas Jr.'s in the lineup for me. He's been very consistent, which I'm surprised about. That's normally not the calling card of a rookie. But Brian Thomas, even in bad games, putting up 9 to 10 points. I'm liking what I'm seeing out of him, and if the Jags get it together at all, he could be real good. I know I put him on the block earlier this season, but he might be coming off the block. I don't know that I can afford to get rid of him. I think he's primed to go up big time. So that's pretty good for me there. I'm hoping my two guys, Trey McBride and Tank Dell, come back this week. I am more invested in Trey McBride and Tank Dell than I am in any other player in all of my leagues, and they were both missing time here, so that's made me pretty sad. But I'm hoping that they come back and they come back strong and they help me win. I'm also hoping that Justin Tucker stops being one of the worst kickers in the league so far this year, which has been wild. It's Justin Tucker. You expect anything but that. But he has been bad, so be good, please. Chris Jones and company with Kansas City defense playing that Monday night game. I'm hoping that they just stymie them there and I get 20 interceptions, 30 sacks, 50 points on the ground for the defense. Sure. Sign me up, that'd be awesome. No, but realistically, just getting the 8 that I'm projected would be great. That's higher than average for defenses, so do that. That'd be cool. Woo! I want some wins. And then Ginkelberg down here versus the Jets. It's a London game. Let's go London game. Who knows what will happen in the London game? Very nice. Same game on the other side. Quincy Williams still going on the on Dylan's team here. He was good last week. I don't know why you'd take him out. So see if that London game ends up affecting him at all. Still doing the Buffalo defense, even though I think they scored like -2 points last week. Keeping groupie so far in that Monday night game as well. So we're both going to be invested in some defense special teams action there. And his guys, you know him, you love him. Brandon Ayuk, Dalton Kincaid, DJ Moore. What the heck? Yeah, no, this was part of the trade that we talked about is DJ Moore, Aaron Jones, that he acquired there. And who else was it? I think it was someone else. He might have either dropped or moved around or something. Like there's Samaje Perine or no, it was Baker Mayfield. Yeah, he's got Baker Mayfield going, Aaron Jones going, and DJ Moore now. Picked up a few starters from Ricky in exchange for his Cardinal stack and the defensive player that he had on his IR slot or his bench or something here. He's kind of filled some holes for himself. So we are neck and neck in the projections, and I'm hoping that I just slightly edge him out, but this one is going to be a coin flip. I'm hoping it lands in my favor. But that's all of our matchups for this next week here. I believe I touched on everybody's lineups. We've got again, those London games. So we've got morning football on Sunday. We got the Falcons-Bucks tonight. That should be a good watch. And Monday night football going back to one game with that Chiefs and New Orleans game. So I hope you guys all get to enjoy those. I also hope that you enjoyed this episode and you get to tune in next week for the next one. But until then, go Ball Hogs. I hope we get it done this week, and I hope you guys all have good luck as well. See you later.
Thank you for listening to the DFL Breakdown. Tune in next week for more.